It is 11:02. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we'll begin with the roll call with commissioners. Commissioner Fair.
Present.
Commissioner Rubin. Present. All right, and I'm here, and we have a quorum. I'd like to request a motion to approve the minutes of the May 2nd, 2024 meeting. We have a motion.
Motion, so moved.
So move Commissioner Rubin, and second Commissioner Fair. I'm a yes, and this motion carries unanimously, and the minutes we post on the commission's website. There are 7 projects on the agenda for today's meeting. Staff to the commission will present the project on the agenda and state the recommendation. Following the staff presentation, the committee will have an opportunity to ask questions of the staff. The applicant may then make a statement. Following the applicant's statements, members of the public may make their statements. I'd like to ask anyone other than the applicant wishing to make a statement on the item on today's agenda to complete a public comment card and give the card to a member of the staff. Comment cards are available at the door. As a courtesy to other individuals wishing to offer comments, we ask that members of the general public limit your statements to 3 minutes or less. When the time for public comment comes on the item on the agenda, I will call the names of the cards and ask you to make your statement. Please state your name, interests, organization, and company you represent, if any. And our first project is 3978 South Lake Park in the 4th Ward, Oakland Multiple Resource District. The proposed dismantlement, cataloging, and reinstallation of displaced portions of the front facade to address backup brick masonry repairs. And Joyce has a presentation.
Yes. So before I get started, I just want to thank the commissioners for carving out time for their schedules to attend today's meeting. And I also want to thank the applicants that were kind and understanding of the process and for their patience for needing to reschedule today's meeting. I am presenting this project on behalf of Emily Barton, who worked very closely with the homeowners on this scope of work. The subject property is located mid-block on Lake Park Avenue between East 40th Street and East Oakwood Boulevard. The front facade of the building has fallen into disrepair and has been scaffolded for several years. The property consists of 2 attached row houses. The owner of the northern half of the property proposing masonry repairs requiring the dismantling of the select face stone to access backup brick masonry. Repairing is needed and reinstallation of salvaged stone with proper attachments. The adjacent owner is not part of this application. The owner provided a report by Fair Engineering and Consulting dated February 2024 that details the existing conditions at that property. Per this report, it is anticipated that there is extensive water damage to the backup masonry, and the report details all the condition issues for the entirety of the building and gives extensive recommendations, including preventative measures such as replacing the entirety of the front facade. After the submission of this report, the owner informs staff that the engineer is no longer part of the project and that their contractor will be determining the scope of the facade repairs. Staff visited the site with the property owners and the contractor to view their existing conditions. And per the contractor, while much of the north end of the front facade looks to be in good condition, requiring just standard tuck pointing, there are some serious condition issues toward the middle of the elevation where the 2 row houses meet. The exterior stone cladding has separated from the backup masonry and shifted outwards approximately 12 inches. And there are currently multiple violations on the property, some of which relate to the failing scaffolding put up by the previous owner of the southernmost row house. While there are other condition issues present, including the pressed metal turret and side elevations, the application is for the repairs to the center and north half of the front facade. The applicant is proposing to remove and reinstall the central portion of the front facade where the stone has been displaced. Prior to removal, each separate stone will be carefully numbered and photographed for precise identification and placement. The stone units will then be carefully removed, ensuring minimal disruption to the surrounding stone. And the existing gray stone appears to be largely in good condition and are to be reused. Staff recommends that any sections of the facade with missing mortar joints, masonry, or other elements that are allowing water infiltration should be repaired to prevent further deterioration of the facade. And any missing or replacement materials required shall match the historic in kind. After the dismantlement of the face stone, the brick backup will be tuck pointed with any damaged common brick will be replaced in kind. After the backup brick has been repaired and deemed structurally sound, the stone will then be carefully reinstalled and secured in their original position using an appropriate mortar matching the color, texture, profiles, and strength and type as the historic. Should it be discovered during the work proposed that the damage is more extensive than appears, and more stone requires removal, historic preservation staff shall be notified immediately for a site visit to determine the next steps. Drawings for the scope of work have not been prepared, but staff recommends that the masonry repair details, wall sections, and photographic documentation of the front facade be provided prior to any permit approvals. So that concludes my presentation. The owners are also here, so please let us know if you have any questions.
All right, well, thank you, Joyce. Commissioners, any questions for staff, Joyce, and before we hear from the property owner? Not seeing none, let's hear from the property owner. Is it Joseph Giannini here?
Yes, that's me. Hi. First of all, thank you to the commissioners and the staff for this extensive review of this project. We've owned this home for 15 years now and love it. The entire inside has been renovated and these outside problems have become an issue that we are financially able to face and willing to face. That's the scope of the work that you're seeing, is the main portion. We're not replacing or adding anything new, as mentioned by Joyce. Thank you for that. Everything will be cataloged, obviously, and brought back. Our goal is just to work quickly because the stones are falling potentially, and this scaffolding that's up there, as mentioned, is neighbor issue or a different pin issue altogether. So our goal is to get our side shored up and brought back to its original glory of what we bought our house at. And I have my beautiful picture here of how we saw it when we first bought it, and what we want to bring it back to. That picture is pretty close to how it looks. So I just want to thank you all for allowing us the opportunity to have this home and have this beautiful space that we can bring back and bring back to the Oakland districts to its original.
Very much, for your commissioners, any questions?
Good point. Beautiful house.
Thank you.
Really glad to see you being a good steward of it and doing the right thing. My question for you is, do any parts of the damaged stone facade or parts of the not damaged stone facade currently have ivy growing on them? And if you repair this, do you have any intention to allow ivy to grow on it ever again in perpetuity?
So when we first bought the house, it was covered in ivy.
Mhm.
And obviously caused lots of damage to the north facing wall, not the facade. There was some ivy that had grown. To answer your question, absolutely not. We discussed that from the get-go, that it's just not, it wants to come back every year. It roots, and we pull it every year because we've just in discussing not only with the contractors and architects that have been involved in this project, but just in general knowledge. And obviously you brought up the question because it's a problem. It does eat away at the brick. So
Sure.
no,
Great.
is not what we would like to happen.
Great answer. Thank you.
Sure.
So another question for you, just, has there been any cooperation or further discussion with the owner of the south portion of the building?
So a little history on that project. Ms. Blevins owned the property, 80 some odd years old at the time. She was working with a family member who was the trustee. We were very close at working with Berglund at the time, and they were going to take on the whole facade project. The custodian, or her cousin, if you will, passed away before she did. Ms. Blevins passed away about 3 years ago.
No, she just passed away.
2 years, January. Okay, so recently she passed away. Sorry. So now the house is in a state, or a trust, if you will. So we have been working with the family members. They are under process of trying to sell the house. My goal is to work with the bank, or when the house does actually go up, and potentially purchase the other half and make that entire property mine versus having a neighbor. But as of right now, the house is not for sale. It is owned by the family in this trust. We are in contact. There are tenants there. They upkeep the property in general. There are other issues. I know that it's in court and dealing with some other issues that I don't have privy to because it's obviously a separate owner, but But we have been in contact with them. As you can see, the yellow square, if you notice the yellow square that goes kind of over the other window.
Yeah.
That's technically their property, but we have no choice but to repair that whole thing. And we've been in contact with them. They know that we're going to be doing it, and I've asked them to sign off on it with a lawyer. We have an attorney in place to just say that you're understanding that we're touching your side of, your property and that you're okay with that, and they are, just so that we can get the immediate done. When we did the original engineering project or the scope of the whole project, it was because we thought we might need to go to court. And we wanted just a full scope of what totally needed to be done to both properties. But knowing that that may not move forward as quickly as this project needs to, we decided to just propose what we can do to immediately remedy the project so that we're not faced with a new story.
For sure.
Bricks are falling, potentially. My home becomes unusable then, or, it becomes a problem. So they are aware and we are in touch with them. I think their ultimate goal is to sell the property. And again, I'm financially able to take on that purchase if it so happens. I'm waiting to, I would hope that they would approach me first, considering I own the other half.
It's good to hear. I asked more so just, seeing the full report, there's obviously more work, but just the implication for long-term, maintenance of the entire property, but that's, hopeful to hear that you have that intention.
Yeah, most definitely. We've been there 15 years so far, and she's been our only neighbor in those 15 years. So it was, obviously, we were very close to her. So when she passed, it was very, although expected. I believe she was 90+ years old. So she lived a very wonderful life in her home, which was great to hear. But yeah, that is our ultimate goal, is to procure the other side if it becomes available and when it becomes available. I just don't know a timeline, to be honest with you.
Great. Thank you, commissioners, for any clarification questions. Thank you, Mr. Giannini. I think that we are, any other kind of questions? Seeing none, I think we were ready to move the public comment portion of this. Do we have any? Is there anyone wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, final discussion points, commissioners. Seeing none, I'd like to request a motion to adopt the staff recommendation. So Commissioner Fair,
Seconded.
second Commissioner Rubin, and I am a yes, and the motion carries unanimously. Thank you for your.
Couple clarifying questions if I can. I noticed that on the agenda in this kind of section 1, you were looking to have, it says masonry repair details for also graphic documentation that the front facade shall be provided prior to approval. And those we had provided those. Are those still?
I think I'll have to take a look at those again. If we have any further comments, we'll let you know. But
Okay.
yeah, we definitely need those before we can release the hold and the permit is issued.
Okay, so that was my question.
Yeah.
And then same in section 2, you're asking for, it looks like that you're looking for material samples.
Yeah.
Prior to approval as well.
Yes.
So can you clarify those 2 items just for the record? so
Yeah,
that
I
we
mean,
know
if you
what
have the replacement stone that you're planning to use,
There is no replacement.
okay. So then material, like if you are any of the masonry, like the mortar joints, just seeing if the color is gonna match the historic. And any replacement that you guys would be proposing to use, if in any case that you would have to use it, we would just have to review it just to make sure that it matches as closely as possible.
So you're asking just for mortar color,
Yeah.
of some sort, like a match from the company we'd be purchasing?
Yeah, sometimes they would have like little samples that you could have to hold up against
Sure.
the existing building, just to make sure that it matches.
We've
side by
already had
side.
the representatives from Illinois Brick Company,
Yeah.
come out to.
Yeah, you could do that. You could send us like a photo of that, just to, of the sample held up to an existing mortar joint, just to see what that looks like. So it's like the color, the texture, and then like the joint profile, just to make sure that all matches.
Perfect, perfect. And then approximate approval time, just because we are concerned that this could potentially become
Yeah,
more of a serious issue if we don't address it.
yeah, well,
Immediately.
yeah, email us with all that information and we'll try to get to it as soon as we can. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have a number of days to tell you, but we'll get as soon as we can.
Okay. Perfect, thank you.
Great,
Thank
so
you.
much. So the motion carries, and we will move on to item number 2, which is
Thank you.
thank you. Logan Square and Milwaukee Streetscape, the 35th Ward, Logan Square Boulevard District, and it's the proposed reconfiguration improvements to Logan Square and reconstruction of the portion of Milwaukee Avenue that bisects Logan Square as a pedestrian plaza, including installation of new pavers, light fixtures, and landscaping.
Okay.
Oh, I'd like to announce that Commissioner Ponce is here for the record. And Joyce Ramos has a presentation.
Thank you. As part of the Milwaukee Avenue Streetscape project, the Chicago Department of Transportation is proposing a pavement rehabilitation and streetscape project that will reconstruct and enhance Milwaukee Avenue from Logan Boulevard to Belmont Avenue. Work within the Logan Square district includes refiguring Logan Square itself by removing vehicular traffic from Milwaukee Avenue within the square and turning it into programmable public recreational space. Logan Square Plaza is frequently used for festivals and community special events, and this project focuses on improving neighborhood livability and community cohesion, and will also provide improved safety, pedestrian, and bike access. Changes to the square have been made since it has been constructed in the 1920s, and the roadways around the square have been frequently updated and widened to improve its function for the automobile. Access to green space will be improved by reducing crossing distances, and the proposed geometry will slow traffic, making it easier for pedestrians to predict the paths of vehicles, allowing them to safely cross the roadway. The section of Milwaukee Avenue that is within Logan Square will be removed and turned into programmable public recreational space, and pavers will be installed along the path of Milwaukee Avenue to recognize its previous location. Replicas of the Art Nouveau cattail streetlights that are original to the Chicago Boulevard system will be installed along the new paved area. A new globe luminaires consistent with the original design will be installed on the 8 historic ornamental cast bronze lamp posts that line the edge of the Centennial Monument's outer platform. Underground conduit will be installed and the existing aerial wiring will be eliminated. No work is proposed for the comfort station, and trees that have been lost or in poor condition will be removed and replaced. Axial vistas to the monument from the boulevards and pedestrian routes are emphasized using planting and paving treatments consistent with historic alignments. Historic preservation staff recommends approval of the proposed scope of work as it was submitted. And the aldermen and community groups are supportive of the project. Not sure if Dave Miller is here. Oh, there you go. I'm sorry. Dave Miller from the Chicago Department of Transportation is also here. Please let us know if you have any questions.
Joyce, Commissioners, any questions for Joyce before we go? David Miller. Seeing none, let's hear from David Miller.
Great, well, thank you, committee, thank you, DPD staff, for allowing us to be here. I'm Dave Miller from the Chicago Department of Transportation. This is a project we've been working with community groups on for a very long time, and actually a lot of the changes that are proposed here came from groups like Logan Square Preservation, Logan Square Neighborhood Association, like and the 35th Ward specifically, to implement this. Farmers Market is a fixture in the square, and they've been over capacity, so some issues will allow more connectivity there. Comfort Station is a not-for-profit arts organization to provide more programmable space for their events. We're working closely with Logan Square Preservation and Ferguson Memorial Fund, who has a responsibility for maintenance for a number of public monuments around the city, to upgrade the cattail lighting, the Art Nouveau cattail lighting, and rehab the 8 cast bronze original lights around the Centennial Monument to bring them back to their original condition. There's modifications made over the years by the city that put aerial cable up to try to keep them going, but it doesn't look so great out there. So trying to bring those back to the original standard. In terms of bicycle, pedestrian, vehicle accommodations, we feel that this configuration actually brings the square back more to its original intent. There's a lot of well-intentioned efforts by my predecessors, traffic engineers in the 1950s and 60s, to try to move more automobiles to the boulevard system. This is a project we hope to bring more of these projects to the boulevards that'll kind of right size that again, square off some of the corners that were rounded out to make Boulevard more auto centric and make it more people centric.
Fantastic. Commissioners, any questions?
I do. I'm just curious. I imagine the community engagement was extensive to get to this point. Could you just talk a little bit about, you see does the bike path go in a loop? And what is it, or is that a pedestrian?
So on the interior of the square, in the green space itself, there'll be off-street cycle path that goes around the perimeter of it.
Mhm.
We'll also enhance some of the pedestrian connections to and through the interior of the square.
So it does, the bike path does go in a loop? Is
Yeah,
that
but
right?
there's a cycle, an off-street bike path that goes in loop on the interior of the square. There's another one that goes on the outside of the roadways on the outer circumference of the square. And those also provide better connections to the Logan Square CTA Blue Line Station. Enhanced bicycle parking through there.
It looks like the bike path from Milwaukee making its way around, it still stays consistent. Looks like it kind of wraps all the way around, at least on that perimeter there.
Correct.
In terms of the number of traffic lights, it's the same. I think it's always 3.
Yeah, so there will still be 3 traffic lights. The big change in traffic will be two-way circulation instead of the counterclockwise circulation as today. We don't have great records, but we believe in the 1880s, when a lot of this was originally built, that it was two-way traffic around the square. So kind of going back to that. But that was, we went through an extensive analysis of alternatives, how to best move traffic while also enhancing pedestrian connectivity to the square itself. And we found having two-way traffic around the square was the best way to get to that.
Any traffic lights for the bike lanes as well?
So I believe I'll double check, but at the southeast corner at Milwaukee and the square, I believe there's separate bicycle traffic lights there. Another new intersection just outside of the district, at a realigned Kedzie in Milwaukee, there will be bicycle specific traffic lights there. But through the other 2 intersections, the signalized intersections of the square, which is at the south end at Kedzie Boulevard and the square by Lula over there, and then at the north end, because the cycle tracks are off-street, they're not interacting with the traffic signals in the same way, so those were not necessary.
Okay. So, yeah, I was supposed to go in for the ones that were on the regular street, not the
Yeah,
other ones. Yeah.
Great. Commissioners, any other questions, comments? Thank you so much. I think we're at the public comments. Any public comments for this project? Seeing none. Final discussion points, commissioners. Great projects. And really exciting to see some connectivity coming to the boulevard for pedestrians. And with that, I'd like to request a motion to adopt the staff recommendations. So move, Commissioner Fair. We have a second.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Ponce. Commissioner Rubin
Yes.
is a yes, and I'm a yes, and the motion carries unanimously. Excellent. Look forward to seeing this move forward. So
Thank you so much.
Any idea on construction start timeline?
Very soon. Some of the work further on the northern part of Milwaukee.
Yeah.
That's started on. We haven't started any work in this part of the project.
Okay.
The work will continue potentially into early 2026, hoping to get as much done in 2025 as we can, just to minimize other events,
I
other
understand
events.
you guys are busy.
Yeah. Thank you.
excellent. Thank you very much. The motion carries unanimously. And we will move to project number 3. 111 West Monroe, 34th Ward, the proposed Harris Trust and Bank Building. Proposed exterior and interior rehabilitation of existing office and commercial building for residential and hotel use with a new rooftop addition and modification to the historic windows. And Joyce?
The Harris Trust and Savings Bank Building is a 20-story granite classical revival style building constructed in 1911 with a fully integrated 23-story stainless steel and glass curtain wall international style addition constructed in 1958 to interconnect the 2 buildings into one fully functional building. The building is currently vacant and was used for commercial and office spaces. As part of the Loop Revitalization Initiative, the building will be converted into a mixed income residential and hotel building. The first floor will be used for a lobby and retail spaces. The second floor will be used for events and meeting spaces. And the hotel will occupy floors 3 through 11. The residential units will occupy floors 11 through 20. The applicant is seeking preliminary approval for the redevelopment project to ensure that the project meets the Commission on Chicago Landmark Standards in preparation for a future landmark designation. The significant features are proposed to be all exterior elevations, including roof lines of the building. The owner is also pursuing the federal historic tax credit and is also submitting a Class L application that will be reviewed by DPD and will target a future commission meeting for review. The glazing in the curtain wall system of the 1958 building is proposed to be replaced with operable windows for the apartment units on floors 11 through 20. The proposed window system is designed to be inserted into the existing curtain wall framing. The system is frameless, with the glazing of the operable windows will align with the plane of the fixed glazing and will not compromise the proportions and detailing of the continuous vertical mullions and the large spans of glazing. Spectrophotometry will be performed on the historic gray tinted glass to determine an accurate color and transparency match for the new glazing. Staff recommends approval for these windows as proposed. Detailed drawings for each window type shall be included in the permit drawings, and samples of the glazing shall be submitted to staff for review and approval prior to order and installation. New partitions will be installed for the hotel and apartment units. In the 1958 building, the walls will jog to terminate at a mullion. The drawings show the walls that are behind the curtain wall are set back 2 feet from the face of the glazing, and staff recommends that this setback be increased to a minimum of 3 feet to maintain views and transparency of the windows. Enlarged plan details should be included in the permit drawings for each unique condition. The existing elevator penthouses are proposed to be combined and expanded to include additional amenity spaces on the roof, and they will be clad in a curtain wall system and insulated metal panels. It will house elevators as well as a club room and cabanas. A metal canopy will project off the penthouse for the entire length of the east elevation. Roof decks on top of both the 1911 and 1958 buildings will feature a pool deck, bar, and lounge seating. A 6-foot-high glass wind guard will be installed along the perimeter and will be set in 3 feet from the roof line. Visibility studies with views provided from Monroe and Dearborn Streets were submitted for historic preservation staff review, and portions of the penthouse and glass wind guard will be visible from these vantage points, but are not distracting from the overall historic form of the building. The visibility of the proposed penthouse will not be an adverse effect. It will not have an adverse impact on the historic characteristics of the building, and recommends that the massing, siting, and configuration of the penthouse be approved as proposed. The metal panel should be finished in a neutral, non-reflective colors, and samples of the metal panels and wind guard glazing shall be submitted to staff for review and approval prior to order and installation. Detailed drawings of the wind guard shall be submitted with the permit drawings. The north elevation of the 1911 building currently features 5 modern aluminum frame entrances at the first floor that access the lobby and are proposed to remain. A new aluminum frame double door with side lights and a transom is proposed in the same space, but on the west facade to provide access to the outdoor seating associated with the hotel lobby, bar, and restaurant. And staff recommends approval of the new door. A cut sheet and detailed drawings for the new door shall be submitted with the permit drawings. On the 11th and 23rd floor terraces on the 1958 addition, highlighted here in yellow, the applicant is proposing to attach the 3-foot-6-inch glass guardrail to the inside face of the existing stainless steel tube guardrail to make it code compliant. Staff recommends approval with enlarged details of attachments to be submitted with the permit drawings. The existing windows on the 1911 building from the 12th through 20th floors are proposed to be removed and replaced with new operable awning windows with the locations indicated on the drawings. The windows on the 5th through 11th floors are proposed to remain, and the monumental windows on the north elevation that extend from floors 2 through 4 will be repaired and restored. The masonry on the 1911 building will be cleaned, repaired, and repointed, and the metal curtain wall framing on the 1958 addition and connector will be cleaned and repaired. So staff recommends approval of the project with the conditions mentioned during my presentation and also listed here on the slide. I want to add that the canopies and signage that are not approved at this time, and the design for these items will need to be developed and referred to the review committee for review and decision at a future PRC meeting. Letters of support for the overall adaptive reuse project from Alderman Conway and various other organizations were received and were included in the packet. And representatives of the Prime Group, Stantec, I believe, are also here. So please let us know if you have any questions.
Excellent, thank you. Commissioners, any questions?
A quick question just for clarification on the 1911 building. For those, was it 11 through 20, the upper floors where you get the masonry? Are those windows, awning windows currently? Or are those double hung? I couldn't tell.
I think they're double hung, but they're fixed. They're not
Yeah,
operable.
they're fixed windows.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And then just wanted to clarify the penthouses and what's what. So there'll be penthouses at the roof of both the 58 and 11. And then I think where I maybe misinterpreted was that just underneath the penthouse, there is a balcony at 23. At the 23rd floor of the 58. level.
Yeah.
Yes, a terrace, a
Yes.
wraparound terrace. That's existing.
Okay. So
All right. Any other, I assume there's none. I think it's time to hear from the property owner.
Yeah, well, thank you for taking your time this afternoon. We're excited about the project. We've done quite a few historic renovations downtown. And this is, one of the more exciting, for those that might remember that this building used to house the Monroe Club up in the 23rd floor, which was a famous, private dining club for many, many years. Part of Harris Bank operated it. And we're restoring that and reopening it as the Monroe Club. They'll be part of the hotel and open to the public. They'll be dining and the like up there. And we're just working with various city departments to go through all the other elements for approval, including eventually landmarking the building as well. Happy to answer any questions, but very excited.
And then for the record, your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Mike Reschke. I'm CEO of the Prime Group. And just by way of clarification, the owner is a joint venture called Prime Capri Interest.
Okay,
Yeah, you have just Prime Group, but it's a joint venture with Capri Interest and Prime.
Okay.
Just a technical
Excellent.
clarification.
thank you. That's exciting. Commissioners, any questions? For the property owner?
No, just echo your sentiment. It's an exciting project. Yeah.
Absolutely. Seeing no other questions at this time, no public comments, I don't believe for this project. Then I guess final discussion points from our commission. Any?
maybe a question for the architect.
Hmm?
There's, I think, a new exit stair that's needing to be added. And there's, I think, a shadow box detail, which I think is good. I was just curious where the location of that was. A little bit of-
Yeah, I believe it's,
Is it that guy right there?
yeah, I think the shadow box here would be
Okay,
installed in this window opening.
okay.
Yeah,
And this is at the 58 building.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, you're right. Let me see. Building.
Yeah, that's.
Or I'm sorry, the 1911 building,
Okay.
1911,
Okay.
on the west elevation. Yes.
Oh, just that little tiny.
Yeah,
sliver
that's
there.
right.
Oh, okay. Yep. I'm all good.
Yeah.
Good question. Any other final comments? Questions? Once again, no further discussion. Like to request a motion to adopt the staff recommendation for the project. We have a motion. So moved, Commissioner Rubin. Seconded by Commissioner Fair. Commissioner Ponce.
Yes.
He's a yes, and I'm a yes as well, and the motion carries unanimously. Congratulations,
Yeah.
exciting to see this project moving forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Nice job.
And we will move on to project number 4, 2328 South Michigan and the third ward, the Monroe District, proposed demolition of a 1-story non-contributing building and new construction of a building with a 7-story, 85-foot tall portion along Michigan Avenue and an 18-story, 170-foot tall residential tower at the west end of the lot. And Tyler Taylor has a presentation. Where do you see us? Yeah.
Yeah, because the panel was the first day.
Sorry, are we sharing? Here we go. Okay, I play. Yeah. This property. Okay. Thanks for bearing with me. Okay, this is a proposal for demolition of an existing building and new construction on a large site in the Motor Road District. The property is located mid-block on the west side of South Michigan Ave with 23rd Street to the north and 24th Street to the south, with a public alley to the east. The existing one-story building on the site is preliminarily identified as non-contributing in the designation report for the district. The building does not exhibit any of the historic architectural features that characterize the district, and staff recommends that the committee find the building as non-contributing to the Motor Road District and that its demolition will not be an adverse effect on the character of the district. The proposed new construction occupies the entire site and consists of a 170-foot tall tower at the rear of the lot set back away from Michigan and a shorter 85-foot tall portion fronting on Michigan to the east. The building is proposed to be built to the lot lines with a one-story section to the south of the site connecting the west tower and east 7-story section. The remainder of the site is occupied by an outdoor courtyard. Parking and loading access are from the rear at the alley, consistent with vehicle access for historic buildings in the district. The proposed massing maintains the street wall along South Michigan. The rear tower is not visible from directly across Michigan as shown in the sightline renderings at top right. The front 7-story section of the proposed building has multiple roof levels with a terrace on the roof of the 6th story along the front. The proposed building is wider than any contributing building in the district. The front portion of the facade on Michigan will be broken into 3 distinct sections with different materials, window openings, and parapet heights. This strategy for breaking up a wider facade was employed by 2300 South Michigan, which was approved by the committee in 2007. The rear tower is screened from view by the lower 7-story portion when viewed directly across the street, but is visible from other points throughout the Motor Road District. High-rise buildings have been constructed to the north and east of the district as the South Loop has developed. These buildings are outside the district boundary, but are visible in the background from within the district. One recent project at 111 East Cermak includes a hotel tower that partially extends into the district. This portion is identified with a red highlight. That is this tower here, yeah. This development was approved by the Permit Review Committee in November of 2015. While it is highly visible from points within the district, the tower at 111 West Cermak was approved because the mass and bulk of the tower is clearly seen as background to the landmark district. Sightline perspective renderings showing the proposed massing of the tower were requested from 11 points throughout the district. This view is from the southeast near the intersection of Michigan and 24th. This view is from 1 block north, looking south down Michigan with the proposed development on the right. This view is looking north towards the development from 24th Place in Michigan at the southern boundary of the district. The provided renderings of the current proposal show that, like the tower at 111 West Cermak, the proposed tower reads as a background building, like other towers in the area that are outside the district. Because of the deep setback from Michigan, staff recommends the tower does not overwhelm or detract from the historic buildings of Motor Row and will not be an adverse effect on the district. On Michigan, the facade is broken into 3 separate sections, as mentioned. On the north section, the storefront transoms are infilled with metal louvers rather than glazing. Staff recommends that the transoms should be clear vision glazing and any intake or exhaust should be routed to the exterior through the roof. The same configuration for the upper floor windows shown by was approved by the committee for a section of the adjacent building at 2300 South Michigan. Staff recommends the center vertical mullions in each bay of windows should have a substantial projection from the glazing to provide a depth to the facade comparable to that of similar historic windows. A specification should be provided for the stone material to be employed on the facade, but the proposed brick and design of the stone elements is consistent with the buildings in the district. Next, is the center section. The first two stories of the center section are defined by a two-story glazed brick frame, with the rest of the facade expressed in an aluminum curtain wall system with black aluminum clad spandrels. Staff are concerned that the masonry frame conflicts with the lightness and simplicity of the rest of the metal clad facade and does not meet the overall intent for the section to appear as a separate building. Staff recommend the design be revised to eliminate the masonry frame. At grade, the storefront windows should be reconfigured so that each pane is 5 feet in width or more. The south section is clad in cast stone with the color of terracotta, with metal spandrels at the 3rd and 5th floors, measuring 1 foot 1 inch height, much thinner than a typical historic spandrel for the district. Staff is concerned with this proportion and recommends that the height of the metal spandrels be increased. Like the other sections, the storefront windows at grade are irregularly spaced and should be revised so they are no less than 5 feet wide and equally spaced where possible. Staff further recommend that the cast stone panels incorporate a pattern of joints compatible with proportions and sizes of terracotta or stone cladding seen throughout the district. A detailed elevation showing the size of panels and locations of joints should be provided with permit drawings as well as details for the windows. Finally, the tower at the rear of the site is proposed to be clad in an aluminum and glass curtain wall system by reflections. This system provides visible floors with metal spandrels. The tower materials reinforce the perception that it is a building beyond the landmark district, similar to other existing towers within the larger context. Staff recommends the committee find the existing building to be non-contributing to the district, and its proposed demolition will not have an adverse effect. For the new construction, staff recommends approval of the project with the conditions stated here. Representatives of Fern Hill and Ekanoff Saunders are here and available to answer questions. Alderman Dowell has reviewed the proposal and has no objection. The Near South Planning Board has also indicated their support.
Excellent. Yes.
Sorry, and I know it's written there, but just want to reinforce that when a demolition permit is applied for and we receive it for the 1-story structure, based on the ordinance, we do need to go to the full commission with your recommendation. It's not contributed. The commission will vote on a resolution that we need to then take to city council. So that will be the process that we do need to follow.
Excellent. Thank you, Deanna, for that clarification. Thank you, Tyler, for the presentation. It's clear that a lot of care has gone into kind of crafting what we're seeing today, and and it looks like that it was met very well with what the applicant put together. So really appreciate that. Commissioners, any questions for Tyler before we hear from the applicant? Seeing none, let's hear from the applicant. Nick Anderson. Yeah, you can come up.
Can I stay back here? Do you want me
Yeah,
to-
no, come up here.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nick Anderson. Thank you for hearing our project today. I'm with Fern Hill, but I represent, this is a tri-party joint venture with 3 opportunity zone funds, which was the original catalyst to purchase this site back in early 2020, so right before the pandemic. Fern Hill, Decennial, and Rebel Hospitality are the 3 firms that each have opportunity zone funds. When we purchased the property, it was an operating Burger King, which is, if you could recognize the architecture of the existing structure. When their lease ran up, we offered for them to stay for free, just to continue to maintain the property effectively until it was ready for it to be redeveloped, but they elected to close and shutter even with free rent. So we unfortunately have kind of had this blighted site really since then, probably the past like 3+ years. So as you can see from what we've proposed, it really is a compromise of a lot of forces between economic feasibility, as well as fitting into the context of the Michigan Avenue facade and streetscape. For our site, it is a fairly big site. It's 30,000 square feet, almost a full acre. And the street wall along Michigan Avenue is 175 feet wide. So we obviously feel like it's a very important missing piece to kind of reestablish the integrity of the district and the 3 blocks of Michigan Avenue. So as well, it's outside of the historic parameters of this project, but we are taking advantage of the new Connected Communities Ordinance, which encourages increasing affordable housing and proximity to public transit. So for this project, we're actually proposing 25% on-site affordable housing. Knowing Michigan Avenue is a major bus traffic corridor, but also we're within a block or so of a brand new CTA Green Line station at Cermak that was built in 2014. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but as well with Econoff Saunders here on architecture. So thank you for the consideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anderson. Any questions, commissioners? No questions? Okay. Seeing none, I guess we'll move to the public comment portion, and I think we have one person signed up to speak. Bonnie Sanchez Carlson.
That's me. Thank you. For the record, my name is Bonnie Sanchez Carlson, and I'm the president and executive director of Near South Planning Board. And we oversee development in the Near South Side as a community-based organization. And we've had the opportunity to review this site for many, many, many years, decades. Our office used to be located in the former Chicago Defender building. So this has been on our purview for a long time. We've had numerous discussions with the development team. And so we understand the needs of the community and specifically this historic district. So our organization appreciates the time spent with the developer and the alderman to alleviate any concerns that we had with this proposal. So after careful consideration and much discussion, we agreed to support this project as currently presented and will not oppose the demolition of the existing one-story non-contributing building, architecture and all in that. We do welcome the pedestrian presence this project shall bring to the streets of Motor Row and believe the proposal will not be detrimental to the vision of this historic district. While Near South Planning Board's concern for parking may not be relevant to this review process, we do want to note that we have asked the applicant to submit a statement notifying in their lease agreement and plan development, notifying tenants of the lack of parking in here, basically because of this Connected Communities Ordinance. So we appreciate the opportunity to review the plans. We provide our letter of support and recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments and providing that information. I don't believe there's anyone else signed up to speak on this item. And we will now move, that will close the public comment portion of this. And I'd like to call on final discussion from our commission.
So I think I agree with all of the recommendations from the staff. I think the one thing that I wanted to, discuss and maybe, just entertain what modifications can be done is particularly related to the tower portion. I get what it means and what's, kind of required of the facade and the frontage along Michigan. But I do think it's a missed opportunity right now that, essentially kind of the glass in there is kind of the aluminum band that's horizontal, but the two are, totally dissimilar. So I know there's like examples, there's a ton of them from, kind of the Fulton Market District of, particularly for this architecture, there's, kind of a grid element, so usually kind of some vertical and horizontal component to it, and I would challenge and maybe ask that some component of that be brought to what is otherwise reading as a very kind of glass box tower. And I do get the sentiment that it's background, but I think the examples of what we call background, despite previous, PRC and landmark approvals, I don't think anybody's saying that that's great, architecture. So I'd hate for, kind of us in this moment. I mean, you all are really kind of setting your foot in a big way. I mean, this is, arguably going to be the biggest in terms of height, and then just linear footage of that facade. You guys are making a big impact here. So that's what I, would put forth. I think, is there some ability to kind of break down what's really kind of this horizontal banding and have something that speaks a little bit more to, the architecture of the Motor Road District?
Compatible versus ignorable.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe it's
Yeah, and I would just say we're open to taking cues on the frontage of Michigan Avenue. We're open to working collaboratively on the design of the rear tower. I think our intention was to purposely make a very big contrast between the two, so it wouldn't appear that it's trying to be a part of the vocabulary of the frontage of Michigan Avenue. So this, I think, is kind of like a barbell approach, but if you want us to kind of slide that a little closer so it can pull in some more Fulton Market element. I know what you're trying to say. Yeah, yes.
I hate to label it as Fulton Market
Yeah.
because that's already kind of played
But
out.
more of the industrial conversion type of a flair to.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
there's Fulton Market example, the row building, that just finished up not too long ago. I think there's some subtle moves that could be done to, try to tie the two together.
And we're agnostic, and I should stop talking about this.
I think a texture on the curtain wall on the tower that complements, like you said, it would go a long ways. This was really about the frontage along Michigan.
Yeah.
But yeah, open to explore this.
Because it's interesting that you're kind of, the way it was presented, you're recognizing that it blends in with towers outside the district that are visible from the district. So you're kind of walking this tightrope here of trying to create something that's compatible for the Motor Road District, but reads as something that's beyond it. So you can't really place where this tower is supposed to be. So if you're kind of in the middle ground anyway, I'd probably side with the idea of trying to take a look at it again within the context of Motor Road, to differentiate that this is a contemporary building inserted into a historic district that has reason to be there. Doesn't have to be entirely ignorable. But it's, effectively it is only on the other end of the lot rather than, a couple blocks away or a different skyline. So I don't know the answer, but it's an interesting challenge.
Further west, I mean, on State Street, I mean, you've got a lot of the new, kind of apartment and condominium buildings there that are kind of Motor Road light. So there's kind of this establishment of this other kind of vernacular that's happening. So I think just the potential for this setting a strong example, is really there. So I don't know how that would get captured here. I don't know if this conversation and the seeming agreement is enough.
Well, so it would require some change to the
Yeah.
design that isn't already recommended in the conditions. So we want to add a condition
Yeah.
that the tower portion, just specifically the cladding of the tower, the
Correct.
massing of the tower.
Yeah, so we wanna,
approved,
kind of
but
add
the
that.
cladding of the tower.
Yeah, the
And
cladding
then-
of the tower.
Would you or another commissioner like to re-review it? Or?
Stop putting
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I think,
Okay.
you guys are in good hands, so.
I also, for
Just
the,
to clarify, we're
sorry.
not be coming back to the.
Yeah,
program.
yeah.
This is just going to be via email
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
and sharing documents.
yeah, there's some specific recommendations you have for the
Yeah.
Michigan Avenue frontage that we're willing to accommodate as well. So we just kind of look at it probably as just an extension of those conditional type design. And we have no issues with any of those things that you outlined.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any other further discussion on this item? And we have a modified staff recommendation with the addition of that we look at some further exploration of the tower fenestration that would be overseen by Commissioner Fair. And that is the motion on the table. That's motion by you. Seconded by,
Second,
by Commissioner Ponce and Commissioner Rubin.
Yes.
The yes, and I'm a yes. And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. That was a great discussion and it's a nice project.
Yeah, the project, happy to see Burger King go.
Landmark of everything.
Yeah.
Not today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to item number 5. Or no, we're gonna move on. Yeah, item number 5. 900 to 910 West Fulton Market, 27th Ward, Fulton Randolph Market District. The proposed rehabilitation of the 4-story building at 900 West Fulton Market, demolition of the 1- and 2-story building and construction of a new 5-story building at 906 West Fulton Market, and the partial demolition 2-story building at 910 West Fulton with the rehabilitation of the front facade and construction of a new rooftop addition. Simple. Tyler for the presentation.
Okay. Yeah, so the subject buildings are located together at the northwest corner of West Fulton Market and North Peoria in the Fulton Randolph district. This proposal is for work to alter, add to, demolish, and construct 3 buildings, effectively combining them into one development, although their appearance will remain as separate structures from the exterior. So this is the buildings as they appear today. The eastmost contributing building at 900 West Fulton, so that's the tallest one on the corner, is 4 stories and is proposed to be rehabilitated. The adjacent building to the west at 906 West Fulton in the center is a 2-story building that is proposed to be demolished in its entirety and replaced with a new 5-story building. The facade of the westmost 2-story building at 910 West Fulton, so the last one with the graffiti that says air, will be retained and restored, but the rest of the building beyond will be demolished and a new 3-story structure constructed behind the historic facade, tied into the structures of the other 2. The condition of the structure beyond the facade of 910 is severely deteriorated, as documented in an engineer's report that was part of a prior 2022 approval. Okay, so the scope of work proposed for these properties is very similar to one that was approved by the committee in May 2020. At that time, the committee preliminarily found the center building highlighted here in orange to be non-contributing to the district and recommended its demolition but not be an adverse effect. No new information has emerged since then to contradict the prior PRC finding. On the south elevation of the 2 other buildings to remain, non-historic infill, shown in red, will be removed from masonry openings in order to restore the windows and storefronts. For 900 West Fulton's east elevation on Peoria, non-historic masonry infill will be removed from some windows, shown again in red. The metal fire escape, non-historic signage, and metal canopy are proposed to be removed as well. A section of the exterior wall is proposed to be demolished to provide openings for the new loading door and lobby entrance, shown in purple. This is the only historic fabric to be removed. On the demolition elevations provided, the hatched area of removal for the loading door is identified, but the area of removal for the lobby is not. This drawing should be revised to accurately reflect the areas of exterior wall to be removed for the permit application. Okay, for 910 West Fulton, these applicants propose to install a new storefront system, restore the original window openings on the 2nd floor, and insert new compatible windows. The design of the storefront, as well as the ones for 906 and 900, are shown with a grille pattern and without a lower bulkhead. This storefront should be revised to eliminate the grille pattern and should be composed of simple panes, 3 feet or more in width, separated by mullions with a bulkhead. A new third-story addition is proposed that is no higher than the existing second story and is set back 15 feet from the front of the building, consistent with the limitations on rooftop additions in the guidelines for the district. A specification of the addition cladding material and details of the proposed window system should be provided with the permit drawings. On the site of the building at 906 West Fulton Market proposed to be demolished, the applicants propose to construct a new 5-story building. The first 4 stories are clad in red brick, and the 5th story is set back from the front of the building by 10 feet and is clad in a dark metal like the addition for 910 next door. The storefronts are also shown with a grille pattern and should be revised to be simpler with panes 3 feet or more in width and a bulkhead. A specification for the brick, cast stone, and metal panels should be included with the permit application. On the east elevation seen here of 900, a new loading entry and additional storefront for the entry lobby with a canopy above is proposed. A bulkhead should be provided for the storefront as well. Repairs will be made to the masonry parapet on both the east and south elevations with some replacement of masonry necessary. Any masonry units removed should be salvaged for later reinstallation where possible. And new masonry must match the historic masonry in color, texture, size, shape, and finish. Where tuck pointing of existing masonry occurs, and at the new masonry, mortar joint should match the existing in profile, color, texture, strength, and type. And a point of clarification, the black portion is not an addition, it's the taller building beyond. Okay, so like with the previous project, staff recommends the project be that the 1 and 2 story commercial building at 906 West Fulton is not contributing to the character of the Fulton Randolph Market District, and its demolition will not be an adverse effect on the character of the district. Preliminary, in addition to preliminarily find that the proposed partial demolition of the building at 910 with the rehab of the front facade to be retained in place will not be an adverse effect. And when demolition permits are submitted, that the commission recommend to the city council approval of the proposed demolition of the building at 906 and partial demo of 910 in accordance with sections 2-120 of the Municipal Code of Chicago. So the rest, I just this is what we went over, but we recommend with these conditions. Alder Burnett has reviewed the project and is in support. The owner and architects are here able to answer your questions.
Awesome.
I know this one is a little confusing, so.
Any questions for Todd before you from the applicant? Seeing none, let's hear from the applicant.
Great. George Sorge with Nora Architects, also representing Midwest Property Group here today. We were brought in not too long ago. There was a previous PD that was on this site with a much taller building. And we were asked to come in and look at other options to that. And I guess for us, it was partly thinking about really the lowest and best use. The other building was much taller. It wasn't very efficient because it had a very small floor plate. We were needing they were needing to utilize deep foundations because of the height. So with this revised version, we're able to create a structure that's not needing the deep foundations, will certainly be much less disruptive to the neighborhood. But as well, we have attempted to follow the guidelines within the Fulton Market District design guidelines. We have no objections at all to recommendations that were brought to us from staff. And then, as we recently done in other Fulton Market projects, we just completed the Arthur R. Aberdeen, where we employed kind of contributing building into the new construct. And we also did 911 West Randolph, where we had something similar in having an addition built on top, set back from the building. We thought it was important to keep that street wall with the center building. Hopefully everyone is feeling pretty good about the detailing on that brick. We were pretty happy with it. And certainly we will try to save as much of the contributing building to the west as possible. And currently we think without a problem, we'll be able to save the the south wall, the west wall, and the north wall. And as well, we're investigating the possibility of saving major portions of the interior slabs coming across. With that, any questions?
Great. Commissioners, any questions?
Are the design guidelines within the Fulton Market Historic District? What led you to the sort of the dark gray graphite color of the brick?
Of the brick, or you mean the exterior?
The exterior clad. I mean, I think the brickwork is really gorgeous for the new construction. I'm not as familiar.
Talk about the additions.
The additions up top.
Yeah, no, I was talking for the new construction middle building, the infill one. Unless I misunderstand it here,
Which part of where are you referring to?
the middle building. I'm also red green colorblind, so.
Up here?
Oh,
It is,
It's more of a red.
It's a red.
It's more
That's
of a
why,
red.
okay, sorry, everybody. Yeah,
They're great.
the additions are great. Okay, well, that's embarrassing. Well, anyway, I like distinguishing the new construction by color. Is that something that comes from the guidelines in the district or
Yeah.
the decision to make on?
I'm not sure if it's in the guidelines. I mean,
Commissioners, typically for new construction, we just ask that consideration be given to propose a material color that is within the district. It's within the range of colors in the district.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they can choose anything that they feel would fit within that range.
Okay, that makes more sense to me. Yeah, because it's one of those where it's like, it's clearly it matches very closely with the historic architecture, which is great. That's what it's supposed to do. But I was kind of curious what was guiding it to make it stand out, that it doesn't, blur the line too much. But I like it. It's very good. Great red brick.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Rubin. Any other comments? Seeing none, I think we could move to the public comment portion. I don't think we have any public comments. So, final discussion, commissioners. Seeing none, like to request a, motion to adopt the staff recommendation.
So moved.
So moved, Commissioner Rubin, seconded by,
Second.
Commissioner Ponce.
Yes.
Commissioner Fair is a yes, and I'm a yes, and the motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
excellent, great. Thanks, Tyler. Okay, thanks, Deanna.
Nice presentation. Okay, wait, I'm missing number 6. Yes. Number 6, project number 6, 2108 North Humboldt in the first ward, Logan Square Boulevard District again. Proposed addition of a new covered porch over existing concrete stairs on the front facade. And Emily Barton has the staff presentation.
And I figured this out.
Right.
Like I've been using Zoom for 4 years or anything.
Super. All right. So the subject property is located mid-block on Humboldt Boulevard between Palmer Boulevard and Armitage Avenue. Sometime in the past, the original covered front porch of the building was removed from the property and concrete stairs were poured in a larger footprint than what would have originally been there. The applicant is now proposing to maintain the concrete stairs and install a new porch roof and handrails. Although no evidence exists as to the exact appearance of the original covered porch, scarring on the stone indicates the approximate size and location. Typically, gray stone buildings such as this one with historic covered porch originally featured stone porches, and examples of other similar homes in the area with historic covered porches can be found. The applicant considered reintroducing a stone porch, but found it to be cost prohibitive. Since the current concrete stoop and stairs are to remain, the new covered porch will follow the footprint of the existing stoop. The new covered porch is proposed to be constructed of wood and fiberglass, approximately 8.5 feet deep and 15 feet 2 inches wide, matching the general location of the original porch as indicated by scarring. Similarly, the height of the porch will match the original height of approximately 11 feet to the top of the roof. A 1 foot 10 inch deep soffit is proposed with detailing to match that on the adjacent stone. Since the design of the historic porch is not known, the proposed porch is compatible with the architectural characteristics of the building and district, and staff recommends approval as proposed. As proposed, the new railing should be simple in design and in a dark, non-reflective finish, compatible with the design of historic porch railings, and details should be submitted with the permit plans. Logan Square Preservation and Alderman Laspada have both reviewed the proposal and have no concerns. And that's the presentation. I'm here, and so is the project architect, if you have any questions.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Emily. Let's hear from the project architect.
Thank you, commissioners. The current building has no front canopy, and also the front door is actually very
Can you
deteriorated.
just introduce yourself?
Sorry, Christian Ansari, project architect.
Thank you.
Brian unfortunately is out of town. He could not make it this meeting. He wanted to. We're proposing a canopy. This building does not have one, as Emily mentioned. There are signs that there was one before. The front door is deteriorated. One of the reasons we believe is because of the water having no cover. So we'd like to introduce the canopy here. The owner actually owns the building next door as well, which does have a stone canopy, and they are big fans of the style, and they want to preserve the building, and they do want to add to the beauty of the building as well. And we hope this gets approved. And we have no issues with the changes with the railing. It's actually one of the things we talked about at the beginning with the pipe railing. So that was actually a welcome recommendation.
All right, excellent. Commissioners, any questions? Seeing none, and I don't believe we have any public comments. And with that, any final discussion, commissioners? No? Okay. With that, I'd like to request a motion to adopt staff recommendation. So Commissioner Fair made a motion. Second, by
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Ponce and Commissioner Rubin. It's a yes, and I'm a yes. And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we are on our final project for today. Item number 7, 511 to 513 West Fullerton, the 43rd Ward, Mid-North District, the proposed new construction of 2 4-story, 8-unit residential buildings. And Tyler Taylor has a presentation.
Okay, the subject properties are a portion of a larger group of vacant lots in the Mid-North District that was the site of the former complex for the Senecal Sisters of Chicago. This proposal is to amend the site plan that was established for redevelopment of the site and construct a pair of 8-unit, 4-story residential buildings. A redevelopment plan for this site was established as part of an agreement between the Mid-North Association and the developer at the time. This was right after the Senecal complex was demolished. The city of Chicago is not a party to this agreement, but the permit review committee reviewed and approved the redevelopment plan to confirm it would not conflict with the commission's adopted standards and guidelines. The existing site is made up of 3 separate parcels that were established. This proposal would modify the previous site plan to combine these 3 lots into 2, allowing for the construction of larger buildings than were possible with the previous site plan. The buildings are proposed to be built to the lot line at the front of the lot. This is consistent with the setbacks of the existing buildings on either side, which are built to the front lot lines as well. Parking will be provided within enclosed garages at the rear of the site with access from a new 16-foot wide private alley connecting North Cambridge to the west. That is this green private drive in the site plan. This is appropriate as it will not require any new curb cuts on Fullerton and will keep parking out of view at the rear of the site. Both proposed buildings are identical in width, height, area, and plan, but have different features in the decorative elements of the facade. They are 50 feet wide, 79 feet deep, and 49 foot 7 inches in height, measured to the top of the parapet. The Mid-North District contains a wide variety of styles and sizes of buildings, and these are within the range of sizes and forms present in the district. Two historic buildings on the same block are taller and wider, so each of the proposed buildings would not be the tallest or widest on the block. Both buildings are very similar in plan, and the front elevations are identical in the placement of windows, entrances, and recessed terraces. The window openings have the appearance of punched masonry openings common in the district, and the ratio of window glazing and voids created by the terraces to the rest of the masonry facade is consistent with similar historic buildings. The windows on both buildings consist of one larger fixed pane with a smaller operable pane below. This window arrangement is different than the double or single hung windows that are the most common for historic buildings like this one in the district. To be more compatible with the architectural characteristics of the district, staff recommends that the windows on the front and visible portions of the side elevations of both buildings should be revised so that they have the appearance of single or double hung windows with a meeting rail and inset lower pane. The windows do not have to operate as single hung window or double hung windows and could operate in a different fashion. Both buildings are proposed to have a rooftop deck with a glass guardrail at the front and sides, highlighted here in blue. This guardrail is set back significantly from the front of the building and is not visible from the street at the front as shown in the 3D renderings provided. However, these renderings show the guards to be somewhat visible when viewed from the sides further to the east or west along Fullerton, and should be set back further from the edges so that they are not visible. The provided renderings show the penthouse at the center of each building will not be visible at all from Fullerton. The east building front facade is proposed to be clad entirely in cast stone by Franklin in color monument white, making up both the primary cladding as well as the window detailing and decorative elements. The building is capped by a substantial cornice. The remainder of the side elevations is proposed to be clad in brick by Interstate Brick in a mixture of colors, pewter and ash. The sides of the east building are proposed to be clad in cast stone as well, wrapping back 19 feet from the front. A sample of this brick was not provided and should be provided with the permit drawings, although they may have it here today. The facade of the west building is proposed to be clad in modular sized light tan brick with some variation in color between units. Its color and texture are within the range of colors present in the district. Staff recommends samples and specifications for all materials and fixtures not already identified should be included with the permit application. So to recap, staff recommendations. First, the proposed site plan as shown on the drawings dated 5/30/24 is approved. Second, the windows on the front and visible portions of the side elevations of both buildings shall be revised so they have the appearance of single or double hung windows with a meeting rail and lower pane offset inward. The guardrails for the roof deck should be moved back so they're not visible from Fullerton. The brick proposed by Summit and Color Concord is approved as proposed. For materials that we don't have a specification yet for, these should be provided. And finally, the project as proposed may require a zoning variation or adjustment, and the commission takes no position regarding any requested variance and adjustment relative to the zoning ordinance requirements. Staff recommends approval of the proposed project with these or with the conditions outlined. Alderman Knudsen has reviewed the project and has no objection. And the owner and architects are here and able to answer your questions.
Great. Thank you, Tyler. Commissioners, any questions for Tyler before we hear from the property owner applicant? Seeing none, let's hear from the property owner. You just introduce yourselves.
My name is David Payne of P3 Properties. Thank you, Commission, for hearing us, and thank you, Tyler, for putting together your reports. I'll try to be very, very brief. We've been working on this project the better part of a year and immediately reached out to the alderman in the neighborhood who is very vocal about what goes in their neighborhood, understandingly. We've been working with them
hand in hand for the better part of 9 months, and I've got the opportunity to be the mediator between what the neighborhood wants and landmarks want. So there's a little bit of a challenge there, but we're really excited about this project and happy to answer any and all questions that we might have, and we agree with the staff recommendations.
Great, thank you, Mr. Payne. Commissioners, any questions? None? Seeing none, thank you. I don't think we have any public comments for this item. So, final points of discussion, commissioners? Seeing none, like to, request a motion to adopt the staff recommendations. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
So moved, Commissioner Rubin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Fair. Commissioner
I'm a
Ponce
yes. Yes.
is a yes, and I'm a yes, and the motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. No further business today. I'd like to request a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved, Commissioner Ponce,
Seconded.
second Commissioner Rubin. All those in favor? Aye. All right, thank you all. Thank you all so much. Great. Have a great rest of the day. Meeting is adjourned. Wow.